it's quite funny, It's been an odd week. It's been an odd day. I would have anticipated that today would be a down day. Because if we put things in context, yes, we're getting sober news from a Fed chair on the not so rosy outlook on the economy. We are seeing concerns over a rise in infections on coronavirus infections. But if we put it into context, if we look at where we were this time last year, the S&P 500 was trading probably about 150 to 160 points below where we are today. But unemployment was at 3.6%, and weekly jobless claims were at about 1.7 million, compared to where we are here at over 20 million in weekly jobless claims and a 13.3% unemployment rate. So I feel that the markets have gotten ahead of themselves and are not really reflective of the economic reality.
Angela, since you brought up the not-so-rosy forecast from Fed Chair Powell, I wanted to discuss it. It was obviously a huge theme and talking point and potentially market mover this week. I mean, since when do investors want to have Jay Powell be a cheerleader for the economy? Isn't the whole thing that they want stimulus, and that's been driving the entire market? And so if he promises, low rates for years and more QE, isn't that usually perceived as a positive by investors?
I mean, you would think so. I think we've had so much good news over the past couple of weeks, and really talking about a more robust economy. And so I think it just surprised people to have a day of negative news. And I think that's something that was driving the markets. And most of investors that we work with take a long-term view. And so from their perspective and from our perspective, we're looking to see how can we focus on opportunities that are opening up because of a sell-off like yesterday and because of the environment that we're in. And we're seeing a lot of interest and a lot of more focus around the ESG space, environmental, social, and governance. And you look over these past 2 weeks following the horrific death of George Floyd, and the S in the ESG, I think, is taking a bigger forefront. And so when we start looking at those long-term investments, they're long-term and opportunistic at the same time, because we're now looking at investments that say what corporations have a good finger on the pulse of human rights, employee well-being, social justice, diversity and inclusion, and not just diversity and inclusion from the perspective of here's a nice slide in my annual report, but really corporate management that's taking a stance to say, I want to see representation of color on my board, in my management group, and I want to see tangible action around agency. It's interesting to see that the NFL is going to start celebrating Juneteenth and considering that a holiday. So, as we're looking at activities today, we see this as an opportunity to really step into that ESG space and invest going forward.